Oh, one Leicester fan described it as an absolute shambles against Plymouth. We're here to talk about that game, and we're also going to preview the West Brom game back on Terrace Talk. We've got our Fox fan, Billy, to do that with. Billy, how are you after watching that Plymouth game?
Bit down in the dumps as a Leicester fan right now.
Yeah, we'll talk to you what you can put your finger on why it's going wrong at the minute. We're also going to ask you to this week, please review all the out of contract players for Leicester and decide whether or not any would have had a new contract if you were able, of course, to do that, and more on that in a second. If you're a Leicester fan, we'd like your commentary on this as well. Who out of the out of contract players most definitely deserves a new contract? Right. So yes, Twitter went berserk on Friday. Maresca out. That was the first time I've seen that. Enzo doesn't know what he's doing. No plan B. This is embarrassing. Shambles. I thought Leicester was just unlucky. It's just one of them odd games where yeah, you didn't create perhaps as much as you have done in previous games, but you're far the better team, weren't you?
Yeah, that seems to be the case for most games where we dominate and are the better side majority of the time, but then they just have, that one bit of good play and completely breaks down our team, and they get the better of us, and fair play that shows the weakness in our game. But realistically, that shouldn't really put us to a loss. We should have the quality. We do have the quality in the team to be able to go and win the game after that and get a few goals back. But it's not happening for us at the minute.
Why is that? Who's out of form? Who is it? Individual players, or is it a system? Because we talked 2 weeks ago about, well, actually he's discovered that a bit of long ball does work now and again, and we seem to keep coming back to this inability to change the game when it's most needed.
Yeah, Moretti still doesn't really have a plan B. I mean, all the play, not every single player is kind of not really on form right now. Our star players, especially, aren't really being there when we need them most to pull out that special something. Like, I mean, Mavadidi got that goal against Birmingham. It's not like an amazing goal. It's a good cross from Yunus Akgün, but it's an all right finish from Mavadidi that puts us 2-1 up in the last minutes of the game. But realistically, another game we should be easily winning. It shouldn't be that hard fought. And yeah, but then since then he's gone a bit quiet. Again, Fatawu not really up to it. Is not up to his best. Dewsbury Hall's gone a bit quiet. I'm not even going to talk about our strikers because it's just a bit invisible at the minute. It's like playing with 10 men most games. Yeah, we're showing too many weaknesses in our defence as well. We just
Yeah, yeah, conceding more than in the first half of the season. Maresca's talked about the travelling on the Friday. You commented on this last week, didn't you? Saying, look, it shouldn't make a difference. But do you think Leicester looked just a little bit leggy in that, especially in that second half?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially like obviously we had those. That was like the third game within the space of a week or whatever it was, and it was a busy schedule. But at the end of the day, players are always saying all they want to do is play games. At the end of the day, you can't moan and say, "Oh, it's a tough schedule. I've got to get on with it and just play."
Yeah. Okay. You beat West Brom at the Hawthorns. Not many teams have done that this year. They are themselves not in the best shape. They've only won one game since the international break, which was against Rotherham. How do you see this one going this weekend? Is this a must-win?
Yeah, it's got to be a must win. But to be honest, I see it being a very cagey affair. Uh, we only just beat them last time out. It was 1-0 for the majority of the game, and then they score within the last 10 minutes of the game, make it 1-1. And thankfully, Winks pulls out a last minute winner from the counter attack from after their corner. But yeah, I can't see us getting that lucky this time. I could see it end up being a 1-1. But I think if we can win against West Brom, it'd be a bit of a statement win to say we're trying to get back on track. Because I know Maresca locked all the players in after the the dressing room after the Plymouth game for about an hour. So hopefully, that's had some effect, and we've had a good break between the Plymouth game and the West Brom game. So hopefully that's enough rest period to kind of restart and go again.
Yeah, because it's a big week, isn't it, for Leicester? It's kind of do or die now. You've got your game in hand, of course, coming up as well next week, which we'll talk about, and then of course then you've got the final two games of the season. Before we get into the contracts, the EFL team of the season was announced by the EFL this week. Were you surprised that only 2 Leicester players made it in there?
I thought the Leicester players that got in there deserved to be in there, but I also thought Vestergaard was probably in for a shout. I think he's been a pretty solid defender throughout the season, despite having a few wobbles here and there in the late on in the season. But I don't think it's majority his fault. I think it's mainly Fass. So yeah. I think Vestergaard still probably should have been in there. But yeah, apart from that, I think Dewsbury Hall and Hermansen definitely deserve to be. And probably the only one I really, really disagree with in there is Rutter from Leeds. He got in there at striker.
What do you say to the people? I mean, Dewsbury Hall, obviously, there's no quibbles about that. But what do you say about the people that argue about the goalkeeper award? Because Leicester have got £1 million defence in front of him. You have faced the least shots than others. So you look at Lackey at Ipswich, Watford keeper, even the Rotherham keeper. Has pulled off, more saves. Do you understand that point of view, that people are puzzled as to why your goalkeeper, as good as he is the best goalkeeper in the league?
I can see why. I feel like it's one of the things as well where, especially when you look at like the Premier League and stuff, sort of people kind of get in there on merit sometimes. Whatever, I feel like it might have been the case with Hermansen. Like a lot of keepers have put in some really good performances this season, and Hermansen has made some really good saves here and there. But like, it's the last kind of few months have let him down a bit. When he has faced a shot, he has pretty much let them in. But start of the season, he did start really strong. So I think that mainly kind of carried him through into the vote, really.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. Just before we go into this, if you're watching this, please do drop a like onto the video and do comment on this next section. We really want your views as to whether or not these players would have deserved a new contract. We're going to go through the list, Billy. But what's the latest on your understanding of Leicester being able to do anything in terms of contracts at the moment?
Well, because it was, I believe, the EFL that were trying to inflict it. It was, I think, if we don't go up, we can't sign anyone and we can't renew contracts, so we'll have to let people go. But if we do get promoted, then we can.
Yeah.
So basically, we need to get promoted.
Yeah, pressure.
No messing around now.
Pressure on, isn't it? Okay. All right, let's have a look then at this quite a long list, really. First of all, we'll talk about your loans, the ones in green, and thank you to transfermarket.com for obviously this data. Let's talk about Callum Doyle. Who's been on loan with you, hasn't he, this season? What's your view on him?
I'd hopefully like to keep him if we can, because I don't think, realistically, if he goes back to Man City, he's just probably going to get loaned out again. I don't see him getting much game time there with the players they've got with their defence, and he's been a big asset for us this year. So he's one that I would definitely like to sign and keep.
Okay. Fatou has been amazing. Not so much in the last couple of games. He seems to have dropped off a little bit, but definitely worse. Well, market value of 7 million. I'd like to think his stock has risen back considerably since then. But he's some talent, isn't he?
Yeah, I think 7 million realistically is a bargain for what we're going to be getting. Especially, after this season, he would have been here a full year. Then he's got a full summer with us. So hopefully, there's only room for improvement, really. And he's been a real bright spot for us at many points in this season.
Yeah. Okay. And then Yunus Akgun, there's an obligation to buy on this deal.
Yes, I think he must be really close with the number of games that he has to play in order for us to buy him. It must be, if he plays a couple more games, I think we'll have to. But he's another player again for 5 million. I think it's and it's not really a waste of money. I think he's had some really good moments. He's had, obviously, in the Bournemouth game earlier on in the season, the FA Cup, he had about 7 chances where he could have scored. It just really wasn't his day. But everything up until the actual finishing of his game was brilliant. He got into the right positions. He had made some really good runs and dribbles with the ball. And yeah, he's been a really good player for us. So just if he can find that finishing touch, he'll be the full package.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, then on to the out of contract players. And my goodness, this puts pressure on promotion, doesn't it? Because look at this list of players out of contract that could all go on a free. Ndidi, Iheanacho, Vestergaard, Albrighton, which I'm sure you won't miss, and of course the big one, Jamie Vardy, who Sheffield Wednesday fans are hoping and praying Leicester don't get up, because they are ready, if they stay up, to offer Jamie Vardy a 1-year contract. And probably not in his head, but I would suggest as a boyhood Wednesday fan, for 1 year, he might just take that. Okay, let's go through them. Let's do Iheanacho first. Let's presume that you're in the Premier League. What happens to Iheanacho?
I could quite easily see someone like Palace coming in for him. If a decent amount of money is there for us to have, then ideally let him go, because I thought he'd play a lot more for us this season. I thought the season would go a lot differently. I thought he would be like our main striker, but he hasn't really at all. It's so I think realistically now he wouldn't really be missed that much. But if we could keep him, I'd love to keep him, because he's got that Premier League proven experience. And from the 2021-2022 season, he was absolutely phenomenal for us. He was our best striker. So, and he carried us through some really big games that season. So, with the experience, I think he'd be a good one to keep. But if the money comes in, I could be happy to let him leave.
Yeah, I mean he's out of contract in 2 months, isn't he? So could he? Can he not just leave on a free? He wouldn't get any money.
Well, yeah. Just if we don't get promoted, then yeah. But hopefully, I'd like to see us renew his contract.
Yeah. Has there been any offers put on the table for this lot? Or
I believe Besiktas are looking at him. I'm not sure if there's an offer, but I think they're interested. I think I saw.
Well, I mean, are Leicester trying to tie down any of these to new contracts?
I've not seen anything about opening new contracts as of yet. So it feels all very up in the air at the moment. But honestly, with the board and top, we have no idea what's going on. It's all a mess.
All right, then. Presuming that you do get promoted, Ndidi definitely would get a new contract, and probably his market value would go up again, I'd presume.
Yeah, I would think so. But I think, again, I could also see us letting him go just because I feel like he doesn't really fit the system. He doesn't play the best as an 8 when he goes higher up the field. At first, in the start of the season, when he was first playing up in the 8, he was a lot better, and you thought, oh wow, he's actually playing quite well there. But since, I feel like a lot of teams have kind of found him out now and found us out as a team, that element of surprise of Ndidi being higher up the pitch has sort of gone now. And I feel he's better suited as a typical CDM all-winning midfielder.
Okay. What about Mark Albrighton?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say he'll leave. Obviously, only played a couple games this season. When he played against Bournemouth, he was really good. But again, one of those, a loyal servant, but he's just being pushed out due to age and better talents ahead of him.
Yeah. Okay. What about the others on there? We'll leave Vardy for a second, but who else on there should get a new contract?
I'd like to see Vestergaard get a new contract. I think he's been really good this season. I think, bearing in mind the turnaround he's had from Brendan Rodgers, absolutely sidelining him to him being one of the best centre backs in the league this season is really good for us. And bearing in mind his market value there is $3.5 million. I think we could definitely get him on a new contract for nothing too expensive. So I'd like to see us possibly renew his contract, because at the end of the day, we've not got an absolute plethora of great defenders at our disposal, but he's been pretty solid throughout.
Yeah, okay. I was just checking your final fixtures there is against Blackburn, because will it feel weird? Jamie Vardy's last ever game for Leicester could be only a fortnight away.
Yeah, it does feel a bit odd. I'd love to keep him if but only really realistically if we see if you take a pay cut.
Yeah.
Just be like, pay you a little bit less, but would you stay? And if not, then because he is the player that he is, he costs a lot. His wages are going to be right up there. So, and we can't really afford it. So if he could take a pay cut, then yeah, keep him. But if not, then I'd be happy to see him go to Sheffield Wednesday. I quite like seeing it when players go back to kind of boyhood clubs and whatever.
So say you get promoted in the Premier League, you'll be what, 38 then, and you'll take a pay cut. Would you be happy, obviously, having him on the books? Because could he still do a job in the Premier League at 38?
Well, I don't know. As long as he gets in the right position, as he knows how to finish. Just he could be a last kind of 20, 30-minute player, which I think realistically that's what he is now. Just a bit of an impact player towards the end of the game, try and get us over the line. But Vardy will tell you he can go forever. So and he loves the club and he won't let us down. So I could see him taking a pay cut if that was an option.
Okay. All right, and let's presume that you, for a second, do not go up. Let's say that Leeds and Ipswich pip you at the last second and you're in the playoffs. They're a complete lottery. So if you fail to go up somehow, some way, what happens to the manager?
I think realistically he's got to be sacked.
Right.
Having one of the the best teams that the Championship has seen, as people have said throughout the season, and not being able to get us promoted. Bearing in mind we had that 17-point gap, and we've now let that slip, and we're now not even in first anymore. It that can't go under the radar. It can't be like, oh yeah, it's all right, it's his first season. Yeah, but it's his first season with one of the best teams the Championship's ever seen.
Yeah. Okay. So 4 games left, 4 wins will do it, won't it? We've got West Brom, Southampton, Preston and Blackburn, and most of those, in fact nearly all of them, by the time it comes round, are not playing you for anything. Got any relegation threatened teams are up for it, so this should be, if you are on your A game as you have been for most of the season, there should be promotion back to the Premier League, shouldn't it?
It should, but that's what worries me. When teams have nothing to play for, and we do, we seem to just balls it up.
All right, let's get some score predictions from you then for this weekend's game against West Brom. What are you going with?
I'm going to say 2-2. I can't see us getting 3 points. I feel like they've not been in form, we've not been in form, and it's just going to be, like I said, really cagey. I just can't see any 3 points going either way.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Billy. If you are a Leicester fan and disagree with anything that Billy has said or agree with anything that Billy said, again, we'd love you to put in the comments below. What should happen to Jamie Vardy after that Blackburn game? Do you give him another year, or is it time to just get his statue erected outside the stadium and give him a 1 year swan song somewhere else? Thanks for joining us on the Terrace Talk with squeaky bum time for Leicester fans. The whole Premier League, the whole Championship, are desperate to see Leicester fail. I think that's quite evident with the outpouring on Friday night. That's, I think, largely to do with the points deductions and everything else going on. So you'll become the new Leeds of the Championship somehow. But good luck against West Brom, and we'll see you next week when we are going to be on this channel looking ahead to the game at Preston. All right. Thanks, Billy. See you next week.
Thank you.